in this country. It has broken a lot of barriers. It has brought a lot of people together. And what's developed within that conversation is the interest of knowing about the food.
Okay, who's the worst?
I think...
Say the UK, because we want them all here.
all my friends were there in UK and getting a Michelin star or running a famous, they're going to kill me, Still needs to be done.
Hang on, go back. So tell me about this chutney then. So it's made out of a bung seed. Does it have the same impact then of bung?
Bhang is basically a wild grass called weed.
Yeah.
People use it for other purposes, but I tasted this chutney, which is made of the seeds which you generally grow on this plant.
Yeah.
And chutney is it's got a beautiful medical benefits, and this is why these people they eat this chutney.
Welcome to the Global Indian Podcast, the platform for people of Indian origin, and welcome back. This is a fantastic episode. Here we'll be having deep, wonderful discussions with a very good friend of ours. He's a celebrity chef, a fellow explorer, has been across the whole planet, having a look at the kaleidoscope that is Indian cuisine, and also having a look at how it marries into culture. Now, this is going to be an incredible session, but there is a word of warning. Make sure you eat before you listen to this, otherwise you will end up in the munchies. You're going to understand why soon. Take care, enjoy this session.
Get up and just move. 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 Get up and just
So far, and you've been to a vast array. Which country outside of India has been able to replicate traditional, authentic, in your opinion, Indian cuisine?
Well, as you rightly said, things are changing when it comes to Indian. Looking at the dynamics, and then it's going to be one of the most preferred cuisine in the world. As I said, a lot of chefs have doing and developing new recipes according to the local palate. The serving Indian food authentic is, I think, Middle East somewhere, and then US, and then I'll say.
Okay, who's the worst?
I think.
Say the UK, because we want them all here.
all my friends were there in UK and getting a Michelin star or running a famous, they're going to kill me, So, Rajan, I mean, it's a difficult one, I can't say that who was serving the worst Indian food.
Of course you can. Neeraj, you may be over 6 foot tall, but you're on camera. So I'm not scared of you now, So,
No, because to me, it's people. What they do is, So for example, I'll give a classic example, Rajan, and then when the Chinese will come to India and they'll see chili chicken or chicken Manchurian served, they will scratch their head because these dishes are not there. Chinese, they never cook bloody chili chicken or chicken Manchurian. This is how Indian chefs have evolved and developed this cuisine for the local palate. And this is what happened to all the cuisine when it goes out of their own shell. So yeah, so.
I love paneer Manchurian. It's delicious. Or Manchurian Manchurian. It's God.
And Rajan, when I was in London, and I used to work with Shangri-La, and then I went there to do a promotion at the Shard at the London, and I did not a progressive or a modern Indian food. I did a food with various region, and I sent one of my chefs to get paneer, and I was surprised that in London you don't get good paneer.
Really?
With having so many Indians living there.
No,
so you can't really blame.
There is paneer. You're absolutely right. It's all right. Paneer. The best thing is to make it at home anyway. In that sense, you get fresh paneer.
Exactly.
You get it packed and how it is. Why go out?
What are the true flavors of India? Because I think we mentioned off air, your tomatoes are from Portugal, your onions are from a different country.
See, Rajan, I'll give you a very classic example, Have you heard about this activated charcoal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so people started talking about this activated charcoal now. But if you see in Indian cuisine, you see there's a very famous dish called batika murg. The batika murg is basically a chicken which is marinated with the ash, comes from a tandoor or comes from a chula. So and it gives that smoky flavor. There's a medical benefit also, because when you take ash, which is carbon, it goes into your body, it absorbs all the toxin. So Indian cuisine has a very historical background. Every cuisine, every recipe has a story to tell. So that's the beauty about this cuisine.
What you read, my understanding there is because of the chulla.
Yeah, chula, yes, exactly.
Yeah, because you have the chulla, that means that makes it nomadic. That means you take the food with you. And then so it doesn't become, it's not a stationary piece of equipment in that sense. So when you take the chulla with you, then you take the ingredients and you take the food with you.
Yeah, okay. In ancient food on those, you still, go to Kashmir, when you see those vazas cooking, they still cook the food on wooden logs, It gives the peculiar kind of, they use pine tree wood, which gives a particular kind of flavor to your curries and all the dishes, So Indian cuisine is very traditional, very authentic. The cooking techniques and cooking method make it very different.
Okay.
It's not the cuisine which is very fast. Every dishes and recipe takes its own time. There's a lot of science involved in it. There's a lot of research, and there's a lot of historical stories around it.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, my favorite, every kind of food which is cooked to a perfection with the right and served at the right temperature. This is what I like. But if you talk about my favorite cuisine, Indian cuisine, I love cuisine from Northeast Frontier, which starts from Delhi, goes to Punjab, and further goes to Pakistan. That's the belt which I like because it's very rustic and it's very traditional. I also like South Indian cuisine. You'll be amazed to see there's a dish called sambar. But variety of sambar in India, If you take the sambar from Kerala, which is more sweeter and less spicy. You go to Chennai, you'll see a different version of sambar, which is more spicy. You go to Andhra Pradesh, you'll see a different variety of sambar. So I like the complexity of Southern cuisine, which is, again, very diverse. We call it one Southern cuisine, but they have a lot of stories. They got Chettinad is one belt which is amazing. The first thing, the stone grilling happened in India. So now people talk that the Spanish was the one who started doing the stone grilling. No, stone grilling started happening in India, which we call patthar ke kebab. So that's the beauty about Indian cuisine. Which is so beautiful. All these dishes have been researched and they have a amazing story to tell. You must have heard about the galoti kebab.
No.
Yeah. So there's a beautiful story, the Nizam who got old, and then he told his chef, I can't eat or chew strong meat. You make me something which is, I don't have to chew it because it doesn't have teeth. So the Khan Sama or the chef, he made a galauti kebab which just melts in your mouth, So they're beautiful stuff. You know about this gold leaf or a silver leaf, This they invented in India, because all these rajas, they had a fear that somebody will poison them. So the chef used to seal the dish with this beaten silver leaf or gold leaf. And if the dish goes to the king or Nizam or anyone from the royal family, and they see it, somebody has teared that gold leaf, say that his food is adulterated with poison. So there are so many stories like this, which makes this cuisine so unique.
That is incredible. You've been around the globe. Obviously, Indian cuisine's kind of changed its tone in different countries. What are the biggest differences that you've tasted, being a chef, between the Indian food in the UK, India, Singapore?
Like you guys are in UK, and then the food what you get in London or in the entire UK is very different. It's not the real Indian food. The reason is a lot of this labor, they came from Bangladesh to UK. And later on, they are the people who started opening the restaurants. And Bangladeshi cuisine is sweeter on side. It's not as diverse as what you get in India. The food what you get in UK is very mild. It's not the real Indian food what you get in India. So
don't tell my mum that.
Well, I was going to say, Neeraj, you haven't tasted Kuli's torka beans, and they are legendary.
No,
I understand because that's exactly what you're saying, Neeraj, happened when certain migrants came over. They were particularly from a particular area. So the British, in one sense, didn't have an idea what Indian cuisine was. They were given what they thought, and even they renamed it as curry.
Yeah. So this curry is one generic word which goes for all the curries.
That's right.
So that's very unfortunate.
That happened many years, and as time has developed and different kind of, especially now we get so many British Asian chefs here cooking and trying to introduce, and now the traditional Indian restaurant has changed, so much in the last 15 years. It's gone into that level of that kind of essence of being quite French in its cuisines here. It's the fusion of bringing different ideas together with food itself, So what tends to happen here now is more of saying, where does that food come from? Why does it come from? How does it appear? We say, well, the chili came from all the way from Portuguese. They took it out to India. Is it Indian or is it Portuguese? Or does it matter?
You're right.
So when we look at the histories of where the tomato or what it is, and yet what the beauty about our country in that sense, India is the idea of absorbing those cultures and utilizing that cultures and actually making that stew and making those tastes and making those different elements coming from different parts of the regions coming in. Yet they do have a history, where they are significant in a particular area when we go into the north. But here is the joy of food. And that's why we say we love the idea of how food travel and where does it travel from.
Yeah, so that's one. Like for example, if you look at Rajasthani cuisine, there's no tomato used because they don't grow tomatoes. They use yogurt. In the north of Winter Belt, again, they use a lot of yogurt for the curries and for the gravies. So you every cuisine, you take it a Chinese, you take Portuguese, they have some sort of influence, but again they have their own roots, which like Chinese, they have their strong roots, they have when it comes to food. Same is the case with India. We have a very vast and long history, and then food plays a major part of it, So I was doing a research on Rajputana warrior cuisine. It's very interesting to know what this Rajputana they used to eat. The region in south called Kurg, they grow coffees, which is very unusual for India, where India is a tea-growing country. Right? In their history, tribal cuisine come from Kurg, because they is the people who used to go for hunt and they used to kill the wild boar. And this is how the Pandi curry, which is so famous, pork curry, which is so famous in Kurg, is come from that. So India is a very unique country with amazing food history.
Do you marry food with your culture?
See, food play a major part in every culture. It represents the community. It talks about the culture. It talks about the eating habits. To me, I think food depends on a lot of these geographical conditions, availability, seasonal availability,
What's the favorite dish in your household there? Because obviously your kids, they like their fine dining, I'm sure, but they also like good comfort, right? So what is the favorite dish that you guys have there?
So, Rajan, during the winters, we make kebab at home. That's the best thing we do, So, but in terms of one particular dish, which I like, and again, my mom, she makes the best saag and makke ki roti.
Oh, hey, stop it!
So
Stop
yeah,
it!
so my mom.
Now this is too much.
And then I have. I don't know, Rajan, whether we've seen, in old days, in village, especially in North India, people used to put milk and they used to cook on a very slow flame overnight. That milk used to become light reddish in color, and they used to put a little yogurt. We call it how you make the curd, and they used to churn it to make out the ghee, the makhan.
Yeah.
And they used to serve it with saag and makke ki roti, and that churned yogurt, we call it matta or chaj. That's the real chaj, by the way. We used to drink it. And my favorite dish, whenever I come to see my parents, I tell my mom to make saag, but that's what you get in winters. And in summer, she make a really good curry, which is very different from the Punjabi curry, So
when saag is made at home, when my mum makes saag, it is stored away in little compartments in the freezer to be distributed out. and when it's tasted and when it's eaten, if you're lucky, with the makki di roti, or a mirch with it, or if you're lucky enough, you do it with your tongue. But that saag, it's just, as a kid, I never liked it. But as I got older and older, I absolutely, everybody, and our family is massive in that sense. When she makes it, it's known.
It's a communal thing. I think that's the thing that we've taken from Indian food, isn't it? It's when we cook, it is a community that we do it. Here's a question, just quickly moving forward with what you've been doing, Neeraj. Cuisine in India is changing dramatically, because I remember, you got a whole evolution. You got the Italian cuisine, you got the Portuguese cuisine, French, so on and so forth. Where do you think that this is going to start turning your traditional recipes? Are we going to see more fusion work coming into India?
See, Indian palate doesn't want to experiment too much with their food, That's the reason all these traditional dishes still exist. But yes, the eating habits are changing globally. People want to eat very healthy. There's a reason to it, because the physical work has gone down. So, but in India, I think still chefs are working on a regional dishes which has not been explored or invented, or people are doing research on. I've been chef for 20 years, but none of the chef has done a research or a promotion on Northeast cuisine, which is so famous. It's so amazing. So the chefs are working and exploring the region or cuisine which has never been explored or never been invented and never been talked about. So I think in this coming couple of years, worked, like Kurg food, cuisine from Northeast, cuisine from.
Do you cook yourself any other cultural cuisines apart from Indian?
Yeah. So I specialize in Mediterranean cuisine. I love cooking Spanish, and I love cooking Italian. When I was in London, I went to La Gavroche, and I worked with I was there to see how they do cheese Sussex. So I love cooking. I love cooking Japanese food. I when I was in China, I explored a lot of this Chinese local street food. So I love cooking other national cuisine also. But when it comes to Indian cuisine, I love doing research. There's a lot of this chef. They are working on this cuisine come from Bihar or Jharkhand. or so again, it's a beautiful cuisine. So I think, Rajan, coming back to your question, I think chefs are working this regional cuisine which has not been explored or not been talked about or not been documented, and they are coming out, they are bringing those flavors back to the metro cities, and this is what we are doing at. Because in India, this progressive food, I think, is not going to work, because we are in India, we know what the like Italian cuisine has been known only by because it's pastas and pizzas, but there's more to it. Same is the cuisine with same is the thing with the Indian cuisine. It's not only Punjabi or Rajasthani and Mughlai or Kashmiri. There are a lot of other regions and there are a lot of other places where the food is so good and nobody has talked about it, and that's the reason they are not popular. So I think chefs these days are doing a lot of this research and making food from this part of the country, which is so exciting.
Food, on this essence, has been probably the biggest diplomacy that India's ever had globally. Because Indian cuisine is known around the four corners. Do you think food has been underrated by India in terms of the immense power that it has to bring people together?
I think you rightly said there's a lot of work still needs to be done when it comes to Indian cuisine. Indian cuisine over the years has been only globally identified as in one of the spicy curry and few kebabs. This is what it is. But again, coming back to my previous topic, I recently went to Uttarakhand, and there I went to one of the local places, and they make the local food, which is so amazing. They use the lentil, which is not grown in the plains. They make chutney, which is out of bhang. Bhang, it's called wheat. The bhang seeds, the wheat seeds. Wheat. Yeah, so they made a chutney out of it, and this is brilliant. So again, coming back to it, I think there's a lot of this work and research still needs to be done.
Hang on, go back. So tell me about this chutney then. So it's made out of a bhang seed. Does it have the same impact then of bhang?
Bhang is basically a wild grass called weed.
Yeah.
People use it for other purposes, but I just tasted this chutney, which is made of the seeds which you generally grow on this plant.
Yeah.
And they make chutney, and then this chutney is it's got a beautiful medical benefits, and this is why these people they eat this chutney, apart from getting
okay.
So and to be very honest, I've never tasted. I spent so many years in this field, and then worked so many years in India, but I've never tasted the chutney, and I don't know that this chutney has such an integral part of this cuisine come from Uttarakhand. So the reason why I'm sharing this with you is that still there is a lot of this research needs to be done, and then there are a lot of this interesting cuisine, region, tribal cuisine, which needs to be explored and bring out to the people, because food is one thing which we really unite people,
Yeah.
when I will travel globally, or I travel outside and see a good Indian food, it really, inspire me. It really makes me feel so good and happy, say that, wow, this is what it is. So, yeah. So whenever you guys go to an Indian restaurant, you go with a pre-mindset that, I'm going to have this kebab, I'm going to have a dal makhni or butter chicken masala or butter chicken. And this is what you generally see in each and every restaurant whenever it comes to Indian food. So if I get an opportunity, I would love to open a restaurant which talks about the pan-Indian cuisine, not just cuisine from, or not just dishes from the famous dishes, which is generally you find and see in every restaurant when you go outside. So Indian cuisine is evolving still in India and outside in India. There's a very famous restaurant open in London called Dishoom, right?
Yeah.
You been there?
Yeah.
And I think it's doing good. And
good restaurant, good street food.
Yeah, so
Very
street
good
food.
street food.
I think He's doing a fantastic job. I've never been there, but somebody has told me that while waiting, he served the masala chai, the cutting chai. When you waiting, I think it's a beautiful concept. So I think there are a lot of these people who are still working on this concept, and I'm sure you're going to see a lot of work going to happen when it comes to Indian food globally and in India.
Indian food, i.e., what we think Indian food has done in this country. It has broken a lot of barriers. It has brought a lot of people together, and they've broken a lot of kind of interest of the palate. And what's developed within that conversation is the interest of knowing about the food. See, and this hasn't happened overnight. This has happened over 40 years.
Of course.
And the British are really good at that. They're really open to those ideas, and they bring those cuisines in, and they want to know more. And we still want to know more. We still have the interest of knowing and bringing other ideas together. And if it happens through food, brilliant. And that's what's the development of that. We say, and that's gradually, as generations have come through, they've actually gone back to their own traditional ideas and are cooking and finding the authenticity of it. And then we're doubly enjoying it when we say, actually, what was that? And what we taste now is...
Yeah, exactly.
Kuli, you got my vote. I've noticed this thing now in all the podcasts. You should be a cultural ambassador for Britain, because every podcast he goes on this Britishness. It's like,
see, but Rajan, it's about the nomadic Indian.
Yeah,
that person who left that culture, maybe 100 years ago, how many years ago, but he took a bit of it. He took some of it with him. What that nomadic just does is it breaks down barriers, especially through food and music and culture and art. See, those are the language and passion. Those are the languages that break barriers, because those are the communal places people can meet emotionally.
Yeah.
So that makes it, see, when you take things, so sometimes it takes time and ideas to develop. It takes time to break those ideas, and trust and peace and honesty. And that's it. And at this moment, I have to bring it at this moment. It's so relevant what's going on, because barriers are being broken down.
But is there also money as well? Like, Neeraj, your hotels, the places that you have your restaurants, you have to have a certain amount of disposable income to be able to pay for this food. And that's the same thing here, Kuli. It's the fact is you have to have earning power to go eat at a place like Dishroom or go to other areas to have an Indian takeaway. That's now changed dramatically, because now we've got a community with more money than ever before. So therefore, we're more experimental than ever before.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a couple of questions. So a couple of days ago, we posted via Instagram saying we're doing a podcast with a celebrity chef from India. What questions would you like to pose? I got a couple here on my phone. The first one is actually from Guyana, because obviously we're doing that one, and it's from Irfan. And he said, out of all the dishes you prepare, which one would you never eat yourself?
Well, as I said, I eat everything, but there's one dish which I don't like eating at all. It's called Parimal. Parimal is a vegetable which is commonly found in north and the west part of India. That's one dish which I don't like. But apart from that, I eat everything. And the other dish, there's one or two vegetables which I don't like. But apart from that, I eat everything. I'm not a fussy person.
Would you be one of the chefs that would kind of make one of those bizarre kind of weird dishes? Like.
Oh, I've tried
like an avocado, like something food. Like an aardvark. I don't know. You kind of an aardvark.
And I'm a big fan of Andrew Zimmern.
Yeah.
He hosts a very popular show called Bizarre Food. And I love that, watching that video. Yeah.
Wow. Here's another question. It's all the way from Malawi. If you could invite any 3 people, dead or alive, for dinner, who would it be and why, and what would you cook?
Okay. the list is quite long. I first I would like to invite Michel Roux Jr., who runs a famous restaurant in London called La Gavroche.
Yeah,
I think the reason why, because he seems to be a very passionate chef. I've never seen a passionate chef like him. When I went to his restaurant, I was discussing about the menus, how you design and develop menu. He said that he do a daily menu, and every day they go to a market 5 in the morning, which is amazing. So that he's the first one whom I would like to invite, and the second person would like to Mr. Trump. I think he seems to be an interesting person. He's very straightforward, and I love getting honest feedback regarding my food. So I think he's the one who very straightforward and give. I'm assuming that he's going to give the honest feedback about the food. And third one, Mr. Modi. I think he's a vegetarian. He loves Gujarati food, and then I make one of the best khichadis, by the way, Rajan. When you're going to come to next week,
no, when I hear khichdi, it reminds me of being ill when I was younger in Birmingham.
So there are a few French guests came and stayed in the hotel, and they said, we would love to try the khichdi. Khichdi became our national dish, by the way. And we did pearl barley and quinoa and cracked with khichdi with pan-seared scallop, and then it's become a big hit. So so these are the three persons with whom I'd like to invite and cook for them.
I got another question, but I don't know if I should ask it, but I am anyway. So this one came in. I'm going to put pre-context to it. Obviously, food has the ability to change taste buds, right? So which dish do you think you can make that would be pure vegetarian that will convert a meat eater into becoming a vegetarian?
Oh, there are a lot of these good vegetarian dishes which can beat any day any non-veg dish, and it's in. I think it's in all the cuisine. You're talking about the Indian food specifically,
any cuisine. Let's go for Indian because that's what we're on. But if you want to explore it further, open to, because I know that you have jackfruit that can be used as a substitute, and I had a jackfruit curry when I was in Malaysia.
That's one of my favorite vegetable, and when the jackfruit did nicely, it can beat any day any non-vegetarian dish. Apart from jackfruit, there's another vegetable which is bitter gourd. I think when it does nicely, it again it's an amazing vegetable which is so good. Then another vegetarian dish is so good and which is very popular called Amritsari Vadiya. There's a lentil dumpling which is fried and then cooked with very thin gravy with potato, which is Amritsari Vadiya.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. All this talking of food is making me really hungry.
You're gonna love the next question then.
So these are dishes, Rajan, which can makes any meat eater or a non-vegetarian does turn into a vegetarian dish.
Okay, so what about turning it on its head? So I'm looking at Kully here. What dish could you make that will convert a vegetarian to saying, oh, do you know what? Just for that one dish, I'll eat meat.
Well, that I would cook up.
Yeah, that's it. That Neeraj could cook for Kully to almost entice him to the other side, the dark side of Kully.
I will tell you again a very interesting story. There's a called paneer bhurji. You make it's very similar to scrambled egg made out of the cottage cheese, then you make a brain masala. Lamb brain masala, which is again looks like a scrambled egg. So
we call it suki paneer.
Suki paneer,
Suki paneer with the masala. It looks like
when you make when you make the lamb brain curry, which is look like a scrambled egg, I think. Yeah, it's like you boil it and then you chop it and then cook it with onions and tomatoes. I think that's one dish. But one of the most delicate non-vegetarian dish is called gustaba, which I've called few bazars from Kashmir, and then the way they pound the meat. And they pound it and they keep pounding it, and then they cook it, just blanch it in a lukewarm water, and then they finish in a yakhni gravy. I think that's a beautiful dish. Any vegetarian can turn the non-vegetarian like this. So there are a lot of dishes, Rajan. The non-vegetarian dishes.
Last week I cooked with jackfruit.
Yeah.
And with the jackfruit, I made a lovely green Thai curry.
Wow, okay.
Because I put the...
But you fried the jackfruit first and then you put it in the curry, right?
No, what I did was...
It would have tasted better, just fried it and then you put it in the curry.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's it. More or less, that's what I did. Because what I did first was, tell me if I did anything wrong, which I shouldn't have done.
And then, Rajan, this non-veg dish, is plays such an integral part in Indian cuisine, So, be it any korma, be it any biryani, be it any rista, gustaba, or be it any mutton pepper fry, So, a simple dish which is done nicely called mutton pepper fry can make any vegetarian into a non-vegetarian any day.
Oh, because we've been talking about the docuseries, and the whole point was take Neeraj over to the Caribbean with us, Kully, or Ecuador, because Ecuador has an Indian restaurant in Ecuador. And what's interesting there, you get the local tribes as well. And the idea was to get Neeraj to cook for the local tribes using their cuisine, but something a bit Indian, and vice versa, and also for the Mango Fest. But I think whilst we're over there, I think Neeraj should cook this dish and see if he can tempt you. Claim to fame, but Kully has a bigger one. My claim to fame is that I believe Divya and I, my wife, we put dorka beans to the Claridge's hotels. Because when we're there for, I think we're there with you guys for like 6 months or so, weren't we, Neeraj?
Wow.
Yes.
We're there for a long time. And Neeraj very kindly let us go in the kitchen. He taught me all the different cuisines. The cheesecake with Alfonso mango, and then they made us dorka beans. But Neeraj, Kulvindher actually played a chef, and you went through studying for this as well. Is that right, Kully?
It wasn't so much of studying in the respect like research. When you take on particular roles, you have to research why food is so important to the character and where does it derive from and where is that passion. And so when you're portraying particular characters like that who have been cooking for and where the history of cooking came from, there was a particular character in a film called Jadoo, but it used to be called Jadoo, but they renamed it the Kings of Curry. So have a look at that. Have a look at that. It's an interesting story. It's based slightly on a true story. And the true story behind it was that I was filming in Leicester, and a boy of about 13, 14-year-old boy came up to me and says, I want to be a writer or a filmmaker. And he pulled me into Leicester on the Golden Mile into his mum's restaurant.
Yeah.
And that's where we ate. And that's what he was telling me about film. And about 15 years later, I went to see him. He made a film about his family and food and his restaurant and where it came from. And the beauty was the ingredients, the book that his mum and dad had with all the ingredients that they had carried from Gujarat through to Africa, through to England. And the story was based on the selling of the ingredients.
Oh, wow.
And how important the history, what those ingredients were. And the story had brought together by the elder brother's daughter. So, and then it tells you the history about the restaurant and where the food came from. For that one, I had to research and actually learn the techniques of particular types of food. You know, how it's cut, how it's presented, how it's made, and the secrecy of it. You know, don't put too much of this. You have to put a little of that.
Do you have it, Neeraj?
So I'll not call it as a secret. So every food has a lot of why when you boil chickpeas, why you put what it called ajwain, because it helps in digestion. Why you put hing, because again it helps in digestion and fight with other diseases. So every ingredient goes into a dish has a reason to it. Why? So there's no secret as such, but yes, I believe in reasoning. I believe in if pasta after the blanch is not run on a running water, there's a reason behind it. So everything has a reason behind it. Why it's done in that way. So why yogurt is been put? Why when we put marinate the tough joint or a tough meat with a raw papaya, there's a logic behind each and everything. So those are become a self-secret, but they're not secret anymore. They are the proper reasoning. Why we are doing it.
Yeah.
There's a proper reason.
What I mean by secrecy in that sense is when you have a chef that creates an ingredient and creates a dish, and he knows exactly what that dish is and what ingredients gone in it, and he's given that somebody to go and taste, and they've absolutely fallen in love with it. And they're coming every day to come and have it, and everybody wants to know. But he has the ingredients. But he has the magic in that, what is written there. And that's how you share that and what you share that. That's what I meant.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
what you
like the dal makhni, when you make dal makhni, it's so famous. But I put a little bit of gram lentil and a little bit of kidney beans to black lentils, because it gives that creamy texture, when it's boiled overnight. It gives that smoothie, velvety texture to it. Some people call it a chef's secret, but I call it a reasoning,
Do you know what? Do you know why, Neeraj? Because that's what they do in the Gurdwara.
So, when you make curry, you put fenugreek seeds. Why fenugreek seeds? Because, again, there's a lot of other things, medical benefits involved.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, look, if this isn't going to make anybody hungry after listening, then something's totally wrong. I think even in anorexic...
Yeah, let us know when you guys are coming to India. We'll do a culinary tour or trip for you guys.
Done.
Yeah. We want to go over to the Caribbean. We want to take...
Yeah, I think we don't pay enough attention to food diplomacy, for one. The fact that food really does bring people together. We look at economics, we look at public diplomacy, but nothing works because you still have to put food in your belly. So use that.
Yeah.
So I think doing a program where we do St. Kitts on that booby island, and we got Neeraj there, and you have the mango festivals there. They got almost 50 shades of different mangoes out there, and having Neeraj produce them. And Neeraj, you have to make that chutney. With medicinal benefits.
There's a very famous dish called amras ke aloo. This is a baby potatoes cooked with mango pulp. So again, it's a brilliant dish. Comes from the northern part of India, and so it's a very typical.
That sounds quite Mauritius, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound quite Mauritius? That sort of area, because I had a guy, Santosh, he was from the Mauritius, when he made me mango salad.
Yeah.
Everything in there was Indian ingredient, but when they put the mango in,
This is the first of many conversations that us three are going to have, because I want to get the docuseries done. And I think it'll be brilliant because I think, one, it showcases culture and identity. But secondly, I think people will be absolutely fascinated. You take Neeraj with his stature and his ability into deep dark jungles of Ecuador, where you got this 300 Indian families there somehow. Nobody speaks English. They all speak Spanish or Hindi amongst those guys. It would just be fantastic.
Neeraj, I'd just like to say, Neeraj, lovely talking to you.
Same here.
Listen, and hope to see you soon and meet you soon. And I can't wait to taste. I can't wait to taste the foods of your hands.
The chutney. That's what we're doing. The chutney. Done. Take care. Thank you very much, guys. And that was a really good combo. Sorry.
Take care of yourself. I said, take care of yourself. This Corona thing is impacting all over. You know, so just be safe, and then good to connect with you, and we'll connect with you in the future. You know.
Absolutely.
And hope to see you guys soon. Yeah.
Done. Sounds good. Ciao for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. And that's it. What a fantastic episode. I don't know about you, but I am starving right now. So I know I'm going to be in the garden doing a good cook-up over smoked wood fire. For more, check out the Instagram page. Do the sensible thing. If you like this episode and you like the conversations, make sure you like this, you share it, and leave a comment. Because with your help, we can take these conversations across the entire globe. And if you have any suggestions for future episodes, you can email us on the links below. Until we meet once again, I hope you have a fantastic day ahead. Bye for now.